special edition of the Vigilate Dialogues. I am your host, Shaina Smith, welcoming everyone tonight to the National Boardroom. As always, we have a live conversation going on tonight, so jot down the number. You can join us at 494-7815 to tune in and engage with our guests tonight. We'd like to thank our previous guests where we talked about mental wellness with Dr. Cindy M. George for Samaj Counseling and Consultation, which is part of the Davies Tucker Medical Wellness Center. So we got a few tips on how to manage our stress, which was, I hope, most of us are putting them into practice already. So tonight's conversation, we're going to switch gears a bit and we're going to learn more about what's going on in London, apart from the Olympics, because a lot of talk is going on right now about London 2012. But my guest tonight is going to enlighten us about what's happening at the BVI house. So for those of us that didn't know we have a BVI house, we do have one. So at this time, I'd like to introduce my guest, Mr. Kedrick Malone.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you, sir?
I'm wonderful. It's great to be home, and it's great to be here. Congratulations on your show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Heard a lot of good things about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, tonight we're going to enlighten our audience about the BVI London office.
Okay.
I realized doing the research I've been calling it the wrong thing. I've been calling it the London house.
Right, I know.
So it's something where we're going to get a few things straightened out tonight as far as it's the London office at the BVI house.
Exactly.
All
Precisely.
Right.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
So let's start at the beginning in terms of the background.
Okay.
When did the office open up? I think most people were aware of about the time when we did purchase this building and set up operations. But let's talk about when it started and why it was started.
The office started in 2002. And this year, by the way, is our 10th anniversary.
Really?
10 years of BVI House in London. And of course, we're going to acknowledge and recognize that later on this year. But it started in 2002 under the leadership of Premier, then Chief Minister Ralph T. O'Neill. And the office was established because BVI had a growing international interest in financial services primarily, but certainly we are a tourism destination with global presence and global markets. And there was a need to have representation in the places where your interests are being determined.
Okay.
And we've had persons representing the territory, we've had organizations, but I think the decision was taken that it was time for the BVI to have its own people representing the territory.
Okay. And basically on an ongoing basis rather than flying back and forth.
Exactly. Because going back and forth, you miss opportunities.
Okay.
And I think when you have that physical presence, when you're there, it says it has a certain level of seriousness that you have about your business.
True.
And at that time, you know, there was a lot going on in the world. There's a lot more going on today. And I think the 10 years has positioned the BVI to be in a better position in the current environment, which is very tumultuous. And that experience and that time has been well invested. And now we are in a good position to help the country navigate its way through what I call the year of transformation, 2012, with all that's going on.
Okay. Yeah. So if I were to liken it to anything, would this be kind of like our version of an embassy?
Exactly.
Okay.
If we were an independent country, I will be an ambassador and the London office will be an embassy. If we were a former British country, I will be a high commissioner and the London office will be a high commission.
Okay.
But we are a overseas territory of the United Kingdom, so we can be an embassy or a high commission. We are a representative office. So my title is officially the UK representative for the government of the British Virgin Islands. And I'm also the EU representative for the government of the British Virgin Islands.
Okay, so that's in addition, or I should say that's part and parcel of being the director of
the London and the London office has a broader mission because we own the building. One of only 3 British overseas territories with their own building, and the only Caribbean.
About that if we're the only ones that have that.
The only Caribbean territory
Okay.
that owns their own building.
Okay.
Gibraltar has its own building, Gibraltar House, and Falkland Islands has its own building, Falkland House, and we have BVI House.
Okay.
So in the Caribbean, it's just us.
Okay.
And I think again that says something about the British Virgin Islands.
Yeah, definitely. Makes a statement.
It makes a statement.
Yeah.
And not biased, but I think we have the nicest looking building. And those of you who have been to BVI House,
it is very impressive.
It is. It's a beautiful building. It's a it was built originally in 1736.
Okay.
And it had many distinguished owners. It was a residence. It's an A-listed building, which means it has to be maintained at a certain standard, at a certain level. You can't change it. You can't alter it.
Okay.
And it's very in a very nice area of London called Mayfair, which is the most exclusive areas of London.
Oh, really? So we went to Beverly Hills and shopped for this house.
Of course, we went to Beverly Hills and we went to the top shelf in Beverly Hills.
Really? All right.
And of course, the BVI is deserving of that. You know,
and again, we're talking about you know, having a presence, and so you're not gonna just go and set up shop any place,
right?
But that the place where you know that positions you, you know, by its very appearance. So
yeah, I mean the address is very. It says a lot about the territory's view of itself. And it's in an area where there are other embassies. The U.S. Embassy is right down the street. Okay. Which is always interesting. There's always something going on around the U.S. Embassy. Okay. As many people have things to say, and they express them in public. So there are lots of embassies in Mayfair. Okay. It's in close proximity to everything. Okay. You can walk to Buckingham Palace. You can walk to Trafalgar Square, Oxford Circus.
So we're in the middle of all the action.
You're in the middle of all the action, and it's a wonderful place to be, a wonderful place for the BVI to have a presence. When businesses have to meet, such as in financial services businesses, they can come to BVI House, bring their clients, and people walk in the door and you can see that they feel that the British Virgin Islands is serious about its international presence. And by the building as well as by how we do business. And you begin to realize that the BVI has an amazing, for a small country.
I think that's what impresses a lot of people.
Yeah, we have an amazing name.
With that.
It really does. And the building reflects that.
Good.
Yes.
Good. So how did you become the director of London House? And how long have you been there?
I have been the director since 2010. Okay. So I've completed 2 years. I have 3 more years, 2 years and 9 months remaining on my contract as director. I became the director. The position was vacant. The position was available, and I applied. Having worked for government extensively before. I was a deputy permanent secretary in the Premier's office. And then I went on to teach at the college, and I was then director of tourism from 2002 to 2005, and then I went back to the U.S. and then the position became open. Okay. And
so you decided to become an ambassador.
Decided to become an ambassador. I think what I like. I think there's some of us who are just public servants. Yeah. You know, we just
at heart. Yeah.
At heart. Yeah. You know, I mean, we can be doing other things. We've done other things, but there's something about serving the greater good that appeals to some people more than others. Yeah. And having worked in tourism and having promoted the territory, and I like marketing and I like promoting, and I think we have a lot to say. I think we have a lot that BVI has a lot to offer and a lot to say. So I said, well, you know, promoting tourism, promoting
a country,
the country, same thing. You know, politics is a little different. Yeah. Lobbying is a little different. You know, you're now not just promoting the country, but you're really selling the interests of the country. You're really lobbying. Which is a little more difficult, especially in complex areas like financial services, where you want to make sure the message is clear. And this is mainly to the political arena. We're not dealing with the technocrats. We're dealing with the political members of parliament, parliamentarians, the ones who make the laws. Okay. So you need a certain amount of enthusiasm. You need to know about the country. You need to have a commitment and a passion for the country. And I think that helps a lot,
Yeah.
because when you speak, people have to feel that you are speaking from a position of authority, from a position of belief.
Yeah.
With a
Yeah,
certain-
if you're trying to, it's the same thing too, like we're saying, if you're in sales and I don't feel that you believe in the product that you're selling.
Yeah, I'm not
you
going to
know,
buy it.
I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah, I don't think he really believes that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
why should I?
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so give us a little bit in terms of and I have to correct myself. I said London house already. The typical operations of the London office on a day-to-day basis, as far as like what you do, what the staff does, how many members of staff that you have.
Okay. It's myself as a director. We have a political officer who is responsible basically for the European Union. There's a whole relationship that we have with the European Union. So the political officer deals with that on an operational level, and on the policy level. The director sort of oversees everything, but spend a great deal of my time is spent on the UK side of the our representation, working with the Foreign Commonwealth Office, maintaining those relationships, but extensively lobbying with members of Parliament.
It's a lot of meetings.
There are a lot of meetings. A lot of times in Westminster, going to meetings with members, working with the other overseas territories on issues of common interest, because there are some issues that are better pursued on a multilateral basis, and there's some that you can pursue bilaterally on your own. So we would work together on certain issues, like the air passenger duty issue, where the whole Caribbean was affected, and overseas territories had a unique position on that. Or trying to get funding for overseas territories from the UK lottery fund. So those kind of issues we work together with the territories, other overseas territories on. We also have diplomatic relations with other embassies. We get persons and embassies requesting information about the BVI, so they would be in touch with us. You do want to maintain contact with some industry people, particularly in financial services, just for them to know that the BVI is in the market, is in London, and if they need to get any information about anything about government, they can call us.
So that's like a gateway.
Yeah, we are we are the government of the British Virgin Islands in the UK and in the EU, which are what embassies are. It's like the governor's office here is the government of the UK in the BVI, and so we are reciprocating that position. And we spent a lot of time working with various departments on their issues. We do a lot of work with Ministry of Natural Resources, because there are a lot of environmental issues, both in the UK and in the EU. We work also with trade, because there are a lot of emerging trade issues in the EU. So we work with consultants who advise us, organization like the Commonwealth Secretariat, who has expertise in some of the functional areas. We would work with consultants or public affairs advisors to bring their expertise to issues, so we can assist the government departments. So the office sort of works across government. We have our own specific agenda, such as the lobbying that we do. We receive monitoring information from various sources to let us know where BVI is being mentioned in the press or in the media, so we can.
So image management is also part of
managing the reputation of the brand of BVI, making sure that if there are things in the media that are not true or incorrect, or if there are discussions in Parliament where questions are asked, or where there's information where the BVI is not properly represented, we would make sure that we use our contacts in Parliament, and we maintain all-party group of parliamentarians who would assist us with those kind of situations. So, and then it also involves managing BVI House, because we own the building. We have 3 tenants.
Okay.
So we're a landlord.
Okay. On top of all.
On top of all that, we're a landlord. We have 3 tenants. We have to make sure that they have heat and water and collect their rent and make sure that they have security services,
Okay.
Cleaning services.
So is that so basically is the office basically self-sufficient, or do you get funding from central government?
We get funding from central government,
Okay.
but we also collect revenue from our tenants.
From the tenancies.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then we also, of course, we are the consulate for the British Virgin Islands. We are if residents or students need assistance or information, they'll contact BVI House.
Okay.
We have a growing number of students in the UK.
I think it's at 50 now. I think I was seeing on the website.
Yeah, I think it's probably exceeded that. Maybe
Okay.
60. Most of them register with us. A lot of them don't.
Oh, okay.
But
So then you're able to keep monitoring who's here and who's not. Okay.
Yeah, and we work with the education department, with training division, to make sure that people register
Okay.
with BVI House. If for nothing else, if something happens, and
Yeah, you're the first point of contact
you
there.
can
on
always
the
call
ground.
us, and we can provide assistance and or get in contact with whomever and be a liaison to whatever they need to do.
And that's good to have, because at least you know you have one face.
At least one place where you can go.
Yeah, where you can go and see a familiar face and say, I need assistance with X, Y, Z.
Absolutely.
That's great. So how many staff in total are there?
So we have 6 staff. 6 staff. The director, the political officer, then we have a management officer, who is a seconded BVI employee. Currently, that's Luz Hodge Smith, the director of culture.
Okay.
There's a PA to the director, who's also a seconded BVI employee, Siobhan Flax, from the Human Resources Department. And then we have an administrative officer and an accountant, who's also a student, completing her ACCA, Michelin Basu. And we have an administrative officer.
Oh, that's my coworker.
Oh, okay.
Well, former
From
coworker.
accounting, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, she's at the tail end of her
completing
ACCA
that.
completion.
That's great. That's great.
And then we have a security officer who provides security services for the building.
Okay.
Yeah, so 6 staff and plus myself.
Okay. Well, you guys sound like you have your hands full there. I went on the website, and for those that are not aware, the London office has a website. It is www.bvi.org.uk/London office. It's a bit long. We're going to put it up on the screen towards the end. But, I went on and it had so much, it was an abundance of information as far as things about what the office does as far as its operations, in addition to information in general about the BVI and what that does. So that was good to know. And one of the things I saw, which you already mentioned in terms of the objectives, strengthening the voice with Her Majesty's government, enhancing the regional and international impact and reputation of the BVI, promoting investment in the BVI, supporting Virgin Islanders in the UK, diplomatic representation, which I wasn't aware of, because I really thought it was just a lot smaller in terms of the kind of impact that you guys are out there having actually on behalf of the BVI, and ensuring that our presence is being felt, as small as we are, that we have that presence there on that international stage, basically. So, and then we were talking about the initiatives now that you guys are running, and one of those is about the white paper.
Yeah.
And we were previously talking about that in some discussions I was having with our Queen's Counsel, Gerard Ferrara.
Okay.
And what that means in terms of how it goes. So one of the things, we're going to get into that, but let's kind of open up in terms of, the relationship with the UK. For the average person walking around in the BVI, what is that supposed to mean to? Or, and how is that, where is that going as far as now with the white paper being reviewed, and, there are some policy goals that were given as far as, these are the things that we want to look at and start to focus on with our relationship, but kind of bring it down to the ground level, so to speak, as far as, because I found that with the whole public consultation that was being done last year, there was a an education component that was missing, because we only tend to think about our relationship with the UK when it comes to getting a passport.
Right.
Right?
That's true.
Or if there's a law, a change in legislation. So we hear that, okay, we have to do away with this law, or we have to adopt this law because, this is what the UK has mandated.
Right.
So what is that relationship all about, and how does it we see it on the ground level here?
Okay. Well, I mean, we're not an independent country. We are an overseas territory of the UK, which means that Her Majesty the Queen is the official head of state, represented in the BVI by the governor. And I think we're all fully aware that the governor has certain powers and responsibilities, and the elected government has certain other powers and responsibilities. From the London office standpoint, because we are in London, and because that is the where the seat of government for the UK is, and by extension the BVI through the Foreign Office, it means that the office has a role in terms of maintaining the relationships with the Foreign Office, and being in a position to help the territory in its communication and its interaction with the UK government. So, for instance, when the Premier came over in November for the OTCC, we were certainly part of the process of working with FCO on the OTCC agenda, and making sure that the visits and the meetings and the preparation were in order, working with the Premier's office. Right. So the office plays a pivotal role.
Right there.
Yes.
We like to throw around a lot of acronyms. What does OTCC mean?
Okay, sorry. The OTCC is the Overseas Territories Consultative Council. When the previous UK government, I believe they started around 1999, to have annual meetings with the territorial leaders and the Foreign Office. And the Foreign Office is the office of the UK, which is responsible for overseas territories, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. There's some people say, well, we're not foreign because we are part of the UK and we're not members of the Commonwealth. But that's one of those anomalies that you're not quite sure what to call us. We're not part of the Home Office because we are not a home territory. We're not part of the UK proper, which is England, Wales, and those countries. So it means that the BVI, because we are administered by the Foreign Office, we have to make sure that the administration of a territory, at least from the perspective of the BVI government, meets with the requirements that the Foreign Office lays out for the territory. So the white paper was really the UK's intent on the white paper was to come up with a policy that would be used as a guideline to manage the administration of the territories. So that we know what parameters we have, and the UK government has a means of communicating and operating the territories. This current white paper, of course, is the first with the new government, and it comes in a much different time than the first one, which was published in 1999. But as you said, for the average person, nothing. It doesn't really become an issue until you need, passports or something goes wrong, as it has in places like Turks and Caicos, and then you recognize what the relationship means and what the parameters are.
Exactly, because that was one of the things where Mr. Farrar was presenting with his paper talking about the Constitution, and the fact that the Constitution also has another piece of legislation attached to it, which is the West Indies Act. And that was basically the first time I had ever heard of that. So I asked the question in a serious way, but then it was kind of like, is there anything else in there that we need to know about?
Right.
As far as, because then again, it goes back to, we needed to understand what the authority the UK has, because I don't think in my wildest dream I would have thought before TCI's constitution was suspended that could happen.
Right.
But, you know, that was something basically that existed that we weren't aware of. And I'm lobbying to get civics back in the school system, because to me those are that type of information is as far as, you know, governance in a country is something that it needs to be part and parcel of your education package. Yeah. So that you are more intelligent when it comes to those types of discussions, as far as, you know, relationship with the UK, what that means locally, what that means regionally, what that means on an international stage, as far as what we can and cannot do. Right. Because it's like the first, I think, hint of it would be where we can't become a full member of the OECS. Right. Even though we're right here in the region, and that is because of our relationship to the UK. Right. That we're not able to become a part of those types of bodies as full members. So we have associate membership, but you know, and because of certain relationships, you're not able to benefit completely from what is being offered because of that, you know. And looking at those types of things, you know, is really